Good evening, Patriots. This is, I don't even know what day it is. It's Tuesday, April the 5th. I apologize for not being uh, more interactive the last few days, but I got really sick last week. I've had a massive autoimmune flare, and I just have felt horrible. And when I feel horrible, I try not to inflict myself on other people. Um, but so much is happening right now. It's just amazing to me that that so much is going on all at the same time. I'm watching stuff on TV right now, trying to catch up because when you're as sick as I was, you don't do anything. You just sit and stare at the wall, stare out the window. Maybe a couple of days when I felt a little better, I watched a movie or two, but not all the way through. I couldn't hold my attention span for anything. Uh, Fortunately, I kind of figured out what was going on, and um, I added some newer mast cell disease treatments, that things I had just kind of forgotten about. I added, I was already using a histamine 1 blocker. Um, the one that works for me is hydroxyzine. Brand name of that's Vistaril. Makes some people very sedated. Obviously, it does not make me sedated. I'm wired for light and sound at all times. And then I added a histamine 2 antihistamine. One of them, the one that works best for me is Asifex, but you have to have a prescription, and my insurance won't cover it. So, another one that you can get over the counter is Pepcid, Pepcid AC, also brand name. That's the brand name. Generic name is Famotidine. It works very, very well for me. So I got some famotidine and I started back taking my 81 milligram baby aspirin once a day after a meal. And I cut out all my sugar, all my gluten, all my caffeine, all my garlic, all my soy, all the things I love. And I am better. Um, We had pine pollen season in the deep south, so everything's been 2 to 3 inches deep in yellow powder, and everybody I know has had sinus troubles, bronchitis, a cough, um, and when you have mast cell disease, it doesn't affect just your nose or your chest. It's overall, it's a systemic thing. So I get really sick this time every year, and we had a really good rainstorm last night. Not really, not high wind and not storm, but just a lot of rain. And had I not forgotten that my pillow slippers were out in the sun to get dry, where I turned my water pitcher over on them, and they got rained on all night, I would have been happy about all the rain. It did wash all the pine pollen away. So, gosh, what all is going on? It's unbelievable what all is going on. Um, I have to say this about the the SCOTUS um, candidate who's from the state that I grew up in. Um, I don't know her personally. I know nothing about her, the lady personally, but I have watched some of the hearings, and I have to say, 1 year on the bench as a federal judge, in my personal opinion, uh, is not sufficient time to develop the legal expertise to reveal your your knowledge and to increase your knowledge base. And I think she's a little too young. I think she's too inexperienced. That's just my personal opinion. I also violently oppose her taking a lenient view on child predator crimes because they are crimes. I was victimized as a child, um, and I know the damage that it does to children. I can't imagine how much worse it would have been if it had been violent or trafficked or, a violent stranger, a scary stranger. That would have been, to me, even worse. And as it was, it took me over 50 years to recover. So, um, this pushing pedophilia as uh, a sexual preference, sorry, that boat don't float with me because I know firsthand the damage that it does to your personality and to your relationships, to your growth, to your spirit, to your just your being. It destroys the child, and it's a very long and painful process to recover from it. I'm grateful that I found a good trauma counselor and that I did get help. It took me over 20 years of faithfully going and digging up and digging out and going through the pain and facing it. And but I did finally recover my memories. I was able to forgive and forget a lot of it. Um, so she lost my vote just right off the bat with that. Um, this the Russia new hoax. Um, sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't personally think Putin is just a bad guy. And as far as the Russian people, um, I got Instagram friends in Russia. Uh, they're just like us. I've lived all over the well, I hadn't lived all over the world. I visited Japan for an extended period of time. I lived in Italy and in Spain and in Greece, and I've lived in 11 or 12 or 13 or 14, I don't remember. A lot of states here in the States. And something that I learned very early is that people are just people. And it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what your ancestry is, it doesn't matter what your religion is. Our basic humanity is what we have in common. And while my faith is very important to me, I do believe in God. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world, but not probably in the traditional way that church is taught. I grew up in church, um, and I kind of rejected a lot of what I was taught, but I found God and I met Jesus and he changed my life. So I believe that that's an important part of who we are as America is in not forcing that down people's throats, but in loving people and accepting them where they are and introducing them and giving them the freedom to reject it or accept it. And the fact that our own freedom is being removed on a day to day basis in the way of that we can't get the news, we can't get the facts of what's really going on in the world. We're what used to be news programs are now opinion hours and hours and hours. Um, I got a little journalism training when I was young, and a journalist's job is to present facts. You give people the facts, and then you let them draw their own conclusions, and then you have open discussions because almost always the truth is somewhere out in the middle. It's not all on one side, not all on the other side, or even if there are other sides. It's in the middle, it's in the mix. And we're only getting one viewpoint right now from everywhere, from all the social media censorship and shutdowns and shadow banning and all of that just pure crap that I am sick to death of. It's been going on for a lot longer than 2 years. And those of you who think that, well, I've known about this for 6 months, or I've known about all of this corruption for 2 years. Baby, I've been watching this since 1959. You think I'm not fed up and ready to see change? Got to remember something. God's in control. God is in control. Um, let Him be in control. You want to help this country? You want to help the world? Get on your knees and pray. Clean up your own life. Do what's right for your own family. Do what's right in your own community. Investigate your own community. What happened to all the COVID money? Went somewhere. Didn't show up in my hometown. I still have friends that live there. I stay in touch with people. Um, I don't know what the hell they did with the COVID money, but it didn't go to the city. It wasn't used by the city in the way it should have been. My hometown is now just a third world shithole after a couple of world wars. You can't drive through it even in the daytime, and you certainly don't venture out at night. Um, we're third in the nation for in my old hometown. We're third in the nation for murders, and not nearly the size of New York City and Chicago, which are number one and number two. So that tells me, number one, there's no law and order, period. Law enforcement's not either not able to do their job, or any ill-equipped to do their job, or not trained, or unwilling. Um, the infrastructure has completely fallen apart. Uh, my car that died, that I don't have a car anymore, but when I had one, it would disappear into the potholes. It's just, there's lead in the water. There are broken pipes all over town. There are broken sewer lines all over town. The beautiful part of town that I used to live in, that people used to travel here to look at in the spring because it was so pretty, looks like yeah, I don't know, it looks like the Dust Bowl. There's no grass, there's no flowers, the trees are dying. The only place there's green is surrounding the buildings. Used to be thriving commercial districts, and there are trees growing up in the middle of it and vines covering it. It's going back to nature because the gangs took over, and there was a breakdown in law and order, and everybody moved out and abandoned that part of town. People just moved away and let their buildings go back to the banks. The banks couldn't sell them because nobody wanted to live there. Nobody still wants to live there. People don't want to even drive through town. That's how bad it is. So I understand there's a federal investigation going on into the capital city of Mississippi. I was born in Mississippi, and that there are investigations going on right now for serious corruption, and that corruption's been there for my entire life. So it's about time. That's all I got to say. And knowing that it's that way in my hometown, where I grew up, it's that way probably everywhere, because it was a small little city. I've lived in some big cities, so I wouldn't even call it a city. Even now, it's a town to me. It's a big town, but um, it's we've got to clean this country up from the ground up. We can't put one person in office at the tip top and expect them to wave a magic wand and everything gonna be okay. That's not how it works. In in our country, in a republic form of government with our constitution, the people are given the responsibility, the authority to self-govern, and the responsibility to make sure that the people that are in office are qualified, and that they have integrity, that they're not corrupt, that they're not going to be traitors, that they're not going to sell us out to a foreign power or domestic power. And right now, I think that it really went very, very far. Um, I don't know personally everybody's story in Washington, D.C., but my personal opinion is we'll be really lucky if maybe 10 to 15% of them turn out to have not been corrupt. I think we need to look for grace, and where there's repentance, there should be forgiveness, but still removal from office. Just like a pastor who can't manage his own family, who has children in prison and has 3 or 4 wives. The Bible's very explicit about they shouldn't be a pastor. If you can't guide your own home, you're not fit to guide the house of God. And if you can't maintain your own person with integrity, then you are not fit to lead your community or your state or your region or your country. And that being said, I've been married 3 times to 2 men. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I married one of them twice. We all make mistakes, and I feel blessed that people have shown me grace. That as I grew in my knowledge and I grew in my spiritual awareness, and I took responsibility and accountability for my own mistakes and corrected them, that um, that grace has been shown to me. So I want to show that grace. At the same time, I'm not running for president because I couldn't even run my own life. So, uh, were I a man and I had learned my lessons and was doing it right now, then I think that should be an exception. We live in a wicked world, and uh, the only way that wicked world changes is on an individual